I'm Ann Trujillo with your Denver 7 update. Atlanta's loss is Denver's gain. Major League Baseball made it official today. The All-Star game will be played in the Mile High City, and hotels will be booked solid. Taps will run dry. Homers will be hit to the moon. The kids will remember this for the rest of their lives. And one of your friends will score tickets and become insufferable unless they take you along. Then they're great. Denver 7's Patrick Perez begins our coverage from home base Coors Field.
It may have taken more than 2 decades, but it took only a few days to make happen.
We are absolutely honored and thrilled that Major League Baseball has selected Denver and the Colorado Rockies as the new home for the summer's All-Star game.
Coors Field will be front and center once more for the big game on July 13th, a feat Denver Mayor Michael Hancock thought would take a few more years.
We were looking at 2024 as a target year, but when Major League Baseball reached out last week, we couldn't say no.
The group was in need of a new city and stadium after pulling out of Atlanta over changes to Georgia's voting laws. The All-Star game is expected to attract nearly $200 million to the state's economy.
It's really a pivotal turning point, not just for our return to normalcy, but the opportunity to move forward to highlight Denver and Colorado nationally.
Governor Jared Polis highlighted that return to normalcy as more and more Coloradans get vaccinated. He says masks, social distancing, that won't be necessary by game day.
This game is in July, so none of that will be a concern by then. But what we really care about is the next few weeks, the next month.
Mayor Hancock says getting rid of these restrictions by July falls in line with what city and county leaders have predicted.
This is right on time and on schedule with what we expected anyway with regards to our capacity building and vaccination schedule.
Expect to see a sold-out stadium, perhaps one of the biggest signs of our return to normal.
And you heard a few different estimates of how much money the game will bring. One economist we spoke to said those claims might be inflated.
As a typical rule of thumb, economists like me say, pick whatever the city tells you, move the decimal point one place to the left, and that's actually a pretty good estimate of what Denver can usually expect.
Victor Matheson published an analysis of All-Star games from 1973 to 1999, and he says there was no economic bump from hosting the All-Star game. None. He pointed to 3 factors. One is crowding out. Basically, all the people going to the All-Star game make other people reconsider their plans, canceling out the economic benefit. And the second is leakage. That's money that is spent on the All-Star game but doesn't end up in Colorado.
So, for example, if you have people staying at the Hyatt or the Radisson, they may be spending a lot of money here, but that money isn't sticking in Denver. It's going back to corporate headquarters in New York City.
Matheson says the final factor is the substitution effect. It says the spending on the All-Star game is a substitute for typical weekend spending, and that most Coloradans who are spending money on tickets or other events probably would have kept their money in Colorado anyway. Governor Polis suggested today that Coors Field will be at full capacity in July, and that may be the case. But if there is anything that we've learned over the last year, it's to manage expectations.
Everyone needs to have something to look forward to. And I think it's also worth setting expectations that the All-Star game in Colorado probably isn't going to feel like the All-Star game pre-pandemic. Like there may still be some measures in place to restrict severe crowding indoors, right? So there may be some guardrails on, but hopefully a lot fewer guardrails than we have now because we've got to a place where most people are vaccinated.
1,200 cases of the virus and 4 deaths were confirmed in Colorado today. 33,000 people received a dose of the vaccine. 1.2 million Coloradans are now fully inoculated against the virus. Armchair analysts have questioned why Major League Baseball would choose Colorado to host the game over Georgia, considering both states have voter ID laws. Well, those people clearly aren't from around here. Georgia's law limits the use of drop-off boxes, forbids giving voters food and water as they wait in line, and strengthens requirements for voter ID. Colorado does require some form of ID for the relatively small subset of people who choose to cast their ballots in person, but accepts everything from driver's licenses to utility bills to Medicare cards. There's also the matter of voting by mail. In Georgia, you have to request an absentee ballot. In Colorado, they send it right to your doorstep.
It's not comparable. What the truth of the matter is that voters in Georgia, largely people of color, wait up to 12 hours in the rain, in the sun, to cast a ballot. What is true is that Georgia just passed the largest voter suppression package in the nation.
Colorado had the second highest voter turnout rate of any state in 2020. Only Minnesota did better. You can read a longer, more detailed account of all the differences between Colorado and Georgia's election laws on thedenverchannel.com. You'll also find a deep dive into the economics of the All-Star Game and a full recap of today's events. Thanks for watching this Denver 7 update. We are always on to bring you Colorado news and weather 24 hours a day with live breaking news as it happens. We'll be back with more news at 8 o'clock.